Good evening, welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is David Okun. We are talking about money given by the United Kingdom government to the British people who need it when they are in distress financially. And we have been talking about this for over a year, linking the conversation to the cost of living crisis, which is by far the genesis of my program on the YouTube channel. Thank you so much, everyone who have been here with me from the start, and some people, the majority of those who began this journey with me, continue with me now. I'm so grateful for your participation, subscribing to my channel, sharing the videos with family and friends, and clicking notification bell, and clicking like, and also actually participating in the conversation. And thank you so much, and continue watching. We are going to look at money, and this money is given by the United Kingdom government as part of the public sector policy and practices, and also the politics has been such as to modify the way the British government now operates and also treat public sector which actually houses the social policy and social program, which social policy and program actually provide a welfare system and welfare policy and programs and welfare support. Money given by the government falls within the welfare economy, welfare support. The benefit is actually called welfare benefit. If you live in the United Kingdom, you will know what welfare benefit is. And if you live outside, perhaps in Europe, America, Asia, also increasingly in Africa, you will be actually experiencing the benefit, the outcomes of these policies, which features in form of state benefit. In Africa, you would actually be aware about pension, state pension, and maybe other forms of pension. Leave a comment below if you know the different types of pensions in Africa. In Europe, in America, and in the developed world, these will be similar to what happened in the United Kingdom. So what I have said to you, it is very, very important to understand, to follow, also pay close attention to what is happening in Britain, because what happens in the United Kingdom happens across the globe. We are running a system of economy known as capitalism, which actually support the market economic system, which support big, medium, and small businesses. Now, because of changes, including changes brought about by technology, but also other geopolitical and maybe other security or other aspect of changes across the globe, we are increasingly looking at the corporatization of the business empires across the globe. This is consistent with the global agenda, which is actually happening now to promote capitalism, often increasingly the version of capitalism which is extreme, more right-wing in terms of the politics, whatever that actually whatever that is produced by, we are feeling the impact, which is actually what, in my view, and also in my dispensation, I've actually argued that the social and financial or income inequality in the United Kingdom and across the globe are actually responsible for the cost of living crisis, which has been happening. Every other crisis are actually responsible for what happens in the economy, and whenever there is distress economically because of the nature of the system, people who are actually on the bottom scale of society suffer more than multimillionaires. The few at the top, which is are there to actually oppress those who are actually on the ground, on the bottom of the pile. The people at the top sitting literally on the people on the bottom. If you consider in our primary education, probably the lower and the middle and the higher level of our education, we study something known as the pyramid of power. If you remember, our basic education, also sometimes advanced education, the pyramid of power is that there are a few at the top with a lot of power and with a lot of wealth. Wealth is now the language, actually the formulation of power. And those at the bottom are actually the many who are actually literally carrying the weight of the few at the top, which is nice, because if you are actually many in number, then probably you have broad shoulders. Anyway, it's in the collection, in the collective sense of the word, you have the power, you have the strength to carry the few at the top, which is quite logical, except in terms of power relationship, which is actually which is determined by wealth. You see, power is actually controlled by wealth, and wealth determines who is powerful and who is not powerful. And this is the discussion. And looking at benefit system in the United Kingdom, I've been looking at the universal credit. Watch this video alongside the other videos which I produce on this topic for you to benefit more, if you are intending to benefit, or if you are just curious to understand what I have been talking about. And also, if you have a friend or family who may need help from the government, this video is useful to point you to where you need help. Government UK online, a lot of the information, support, advice, and guidance are online. It's something called empowerment, because knowledge is power. Because we live in the knowledge economy. If you're a child, if you are a teenager, if you are an adult, knowledge, especially the right knowledge in terms of development and also in culture. Culture means relationship, living with family, living with friends. A lot of young people are being killed on the street. There's gun violence. There's a lot of crime among young people now. Young people are misled. Family is breaking down. Children are taken to school from an early age. Sometimes, a lot of the time, actually compulsory taken by the state to school. If you don't take your child to school in the UK, if I am correct, leave a comment below. You will be probably committing a criminal offense if you actually if you fail to explain accurately why you're not taking your child to school. So the government direct education, direct families to take their children to school, and this is always the case. Children are taken to school, children are taken to reception, primary, secondary education. They are supposed to go until probably when they are 16, that they can probably decide for themselves. And this is what is happening under the state. The children are actually being prepared to service the industry. The primary purpose of education is actually to prepare the country aside for industry, to service businesses, to provide manpower or woman power increasingly now, as we mix the economy. Women are participating now more and more in the marketplace, and I also say technology now advantageously increasingly taking over jobs from the British people, from the people of the world, which is, in my opinion, prospectively going to be a good thing. Because when technology takes over running in the economy, it will produce goods and services so that to our people can access goods and services free of charge. Because when technology matures, especially things like computers, 3D printers, I've mentioned this in the other video. Look forward, for better or for worse, I will be repeating this point, which is, to me, is extremely very important. I'm so grateful for this opportunity, and if you're just joining now, continue watching this material, continue supporting this channel. Work in progress we have. I'm so grateful to everyone who have been part of this family. Continue sharing with family and friends, and so exciting, so grateful to YouTube, our platform, our infrastructure. So grateful to people who have been using this platform. It is a feature of change which is happening in our society. So we are so excited. It's modern human communities, families, and continue watching. Thank you. So let us continue with this process, looking at universal credit, looking at the sickness element of universal credit, watching this video alongside the rest of the video as we produced, as we have been producing from time to time. And there are people who might have different type of sickness, who may be wanting financial support from the government, and you may be actually getting cancer treatment, and you may be required to actually to fill out the forms. You may be required to understand what the Department of Work and Pension need you to know, and the points, you may need to look at the points and descriptors or from the Department of Pension. This is information given to you to help you to fill out forms which are actually numbered on different pages, as you will find within those forms. If you access the Department of Work and Pension, if you access gov.uk or websites such as public website from Citizen Advice, or I think also Shelter, you can check. There are so many organizations connected with the Department of Work and Pension, and you will find this website very useful. There are actually different parts. For example, part 3 would help with giving you information about eating food or drinking. and also you will be guided how to finish to complete the form and sending the form back and looking at different segment of the application form. You will continuously be reminded to actually finish and send the form back so that you don't forget, especially given if you are actually a sick person and you're struggling with sickness, with poverty also. The information provided are sometimes detailed information to make sure you are supported to fill out the form and send it back, because there are deadlines to the application form of 4 weeks. If you don't return the form, then this may affect your claim. The claim may be shut down, and you may have to claim all over again. The system is complex for somebody who is sick. We have actually discussed this going forward. We will continue to look at this so that we are actually aware about what is involved, and sometimes you may be asked to fill out an extra form, and if you get universal credit, and you can't work because you are disabled or have a health condition, and extra form, like we have seen in other materials, would involve things like limited capability for work related activity when we are considered to be very sick, and you need upgrading of your claim so that the sicker you are is considered by the Department of Work and Pension, also evidenced by your doctor, you get more money. And this is how the system works, and that's what I'm trying to take you through. So the form, the extra form you are requested to fill out is actually universal credit 50 UC 50 form. The form is generally called the work capability questionnaire, because normally when you are given questionnaire, this relates to the similar question. It supports the Department of Work and Pension to assess your situation, and the argument for support is based on the government argument for support is based on actually supporting people back into work. And if you claim benefit, the government attitude to giving benefit is to make sure benefit is not there to support people in any other way, but to encourage people back into work. And I've already said, commented on this situation as a matter of policy, that this is the kind of policies the government can actually revisit to modify if it wants British people, because the industry is changing, technology is actually taking work away. As a matter of fact, if you can assess the industry, there is less and not more work, in which case the government should think of increasing, not really reducing the incident of benefit provision. And the reason, in my opinion, the government is not keen to give money to people is that because of political and ideological reasons, the government across the globe, not just the United Kingdom government, has decided to close down the public sector, and the British people appears to be happy with that. Except my message to the British people is that you need to be cautious really when supporting the government when they close down the public sector, because the people to benefit from public sectoral closure are actually the very few at the top who are super rich. If you are a poor person, you need to really engage with your member of parliament to make sure your member of parliament support you adequately by actually engaging with parliament, and also parliament engaging with the government, which should engage with the country to support the public sector, to strengthen the public sector, especially the welfare sector. Because the reality is that although a lot of people in this country do not want to depend on benefit, they have their pride. They want to protect their pride to actually to work for a living, which is what people actually want. People want to work for a living. They have their dignity, they have their pride to protect. However, there has been the reality versus fantasy, which fantasy actually provide for an illusionary belief that employment or actually self-employment in the small and medium businesses is the roadmap to success, which it is, but it is not, because what it does in a system like we have today, an economic system as we have today, is actually to permanently keep you in poverty. And if you're in poverty, you are sitting back. Any slight crisis in society, you are eliminated from the opportunities immediately. And that is why the government needs to be there for the British people. And the best way for the government to exist is to support the public sector always, through taxation, through borrowing. And those are the primary sources of financing the public sector. When the British people discourages the government to tax or borrow, then they are failing to understand the value of the public sector. And if the British people pay taxes, then the government should actually make sure this money is significantly invested in the public sector, in the social sector in particular, especially the policy aspect of the public sector. It is okay to invest in infrastructure and capital of the public sector, which is part of reform, but equally there should be adequate funding for the NHS. The government normally says there is funding for the National Health Service. Yes, there is, but the vast majority of the money, probably, I don't know the percentage, leave a comment below if you know this percentage, or in the UK, of how much public money goes toward infrastructure and capital. It appears to me most of the money are actually siphoned there. That money goes to the super rich because of privatization. The public sector, the National Health Service has been privatized. The school system has been privatized. It means it's owned now by private companies. Every time the government invests in capital and infrastructure, the money goes not to the poor but to the rich who are already super rich. That is how government has been transferring public money into the pockets of individuals who are now closing down the National Health Service. They are now closing down schools. They are now closing down all the public sector, because if they don't make money as private companies, their philosophy informs them, and also their culture informs them to shut things down. That's why things are being shut down. The Department of Work and Pension are being supplied by private companies, the computer, the infrastructure, the artificial intelligence, for example. Those are actually privately run. So government departments across the country is now being run privately. That's why they are closing down. They are laying people off work, and advisors who are actually human based are now being made redundant. They are losing their jobs. They're losing their jobs to technology. Continue watching. So let us go back and look at the form specific. I'll be stopping from time to time to give observation in terms of the policy and the law of the government on social welfare. And as I have said, the government needs to increase not decrease the public sector and the welfare sector because of technology, because people are losing their jobs. We'll talk about income. Income is essentially the primary source of income is actually work. And also work can be employment, can be self-employment, small and medium, but also income can come from investment or entrepreneurship. And people who are actually directors or even let's say CEOs, chief executive officers of organizations, and they can earn up to millions, hundreds of thousands of pounds per annum. Those category of earners are actually few, and they are the ones who benefit from the wealth of the nation when there is growth. The very few who are actually at the top are the ones who get the wealth. And so the poverty is created by the system of capitalism. And if you want to call somebody a socialist, that is your problem, because poverty is here to stay. And we have seen the evidence from the cost of living crisis. The cost of living crisis is created by social injustice. The world is enough. And if you go everywhere, whether in Europe, whether in Africa, wherever you go, you will find a lot of wealth. And so there is no basis for the inequalities we have in every country of the world where there is poverty, and poverty is artificial and it should not be there. So I have been saying again and again to the government, the British government, the UK government, to change their policy on poverty. I call it poverty, but they may call it something else. But I would say, if you're actually going to provide welfare, if you're going to support employment or work, including employment, including small and medium businesses, these are actually people who are poor, who are working. The majority of the population who want to grow, to develop, to look after this country, who, by virtue of the economic injustice, the economic system producing social injustice, these people who work so hard to build the country are not rewarded. If they are rewarded, then very, very little. They are artificially, almost deliberately kept in poverty, which is actually a form of violence by the state, and which occurred from in the past, in the decades of slave master relationship. But what we practice now are obsolete. The obsolete aspect of what began as a form of state violence. The very dangerous system where people who are actually powerful have been oppressing, also behaving like dangerous murderers. And that is the level of violence we have produced in history. We're still continuing it today. And it has to stop today. It has to stop because we need peace. If you ask yourself, why is there war in the Middle East? Why is there war in Ukraine? Because of violence, state violence. Who is fighting? Is it ordinary people? No. The Israeli government is fighting with the Arab states. They have been fighting for decades. And they have been fighting in Ukraine. They have been fighting in Africa. All over the world, the government is fighting. They're taking citizens to fight wars which are actually irrelevant. We are in the middle of problem. And we need to start getting out of disaster. Now, we should start the process now. If we don't do that, we are going to go extinct as a species. Poor people will die first, who are the majority, but rich people will die last. So you are looking at the extinction of humanity. Look at it the way you want, but this is the truth. And if you come below, if you think it is not the truth, and if you think you are interested in talking about something else, so be it. My purpose to be on this platform is actually to talk about this thing because it's our life. If your life is cheap, that is you. I may be rich, I may be a multimillionaire, or I may be a poor person, I may even be a multimillionaire, But you see, whether I'm rich or poor, my life, I cannot put a price on my life. And we begin from individuals. And then we form communities of people who actually think alike, who think peace. Peace is a possibility. Otherwise, there's no point talking about this. If you are a child, you can listen. If your parents allow you to watch YouTube, if you listen to this, you are responsible. Even if you are a child, because the future is your life. The adults are going to leave this world to your hands. And if a lot of young people are being murdered on the street through criminal activity because they don't see as their responsibility to act responsibly, to run the countries. They don't see themselves as inheritors. They are failed to build effective relationship with parents, with the state, with the police. They have become very dangerous people. Some of them get killed. They sometimes participate in murders, in killing people through violence. And these are realities. We may see them as criminals or as drug addicts or drug dealers or as rapists, but these are actually flesh and blood. They are families who care about them. And therefore, if you're a family with children or without children, it is your responsibility to actually look after yourself, look after the world. I talk of cultural economy, which is extremely important. The reason now people do not value themselves, even in the Middle East, there is war. These things are linked together. And we need to change now culturally and begin to respecting ourselves. Be responsible. There is no two ways about it. You parents, if you have children, then your parents. If you're caring for somebody, then you're a carer. You're somebody responsible for a child or a young person. You need to work as families and communities and friends. Again, in the United Kingdom, we call each other strangers. We are strangers, and that is a dangerous thing because we no longer care about other people. Therefore, we ourselves no longer, our life is cheap. We take unnecessarily dangerous risks, which is not necessary. A lot of people, young people, are dying on the street. These are matters. It must stop. The government should do something about it. Not just the government, with the community leaders and followers. Whoever you are now a leader. Because, we are changing society. The government is shutting down. And the benefit system we talk about is shutting down because it's part of the public sector. When the public sector shuts, the private sector will also shut down. So society will disappear. There will be powers existing which we may not know much about. Who only God knows what they're going to do. Because power in the hands of individuals, which is where we are heading, or a certain form of government, coalitions of individuals who are going to be really very violent and powerful. The government, as we know about its election, as we know about it, is stopping. Because it stops with the economy. The economy shuts down and there is wealth and power. Do not think that without economy, power and wealth will stop existing. Technology will be producing goods and services free of charge at no extra cost. That's to say, if product is actually producible without a limited amount of product, goods and services is produced by the machine. You don't need to sell it because you don't need money. Machine just produces things. The machines produce things abundantly because the economy exists because of consumption, but also because of power relation. Power relations will remain after the closure of the end of the economic age. We're going to enter into technological age, which exclude trade. Trade is actually the essence of the economy, the economic system, because it involves selling and buying. You don't sell and buy something you don't need to buy because it doesn't cost. People sell things because they want money. What do you want money for if the machine is already producing a limited amount of what you want and what you need? And that's the future. In theory, it's supposed to be good. It is actually good in its own right. What is not right from now going forward, the biggest source of problem in our society is the human factor. Human factor is the most dangerous creature affecting our peace, because we have failed to learn our culture, and this culture is actually based on how we value our lives. I promise at the outset of producing this material, and going forward, I will be stopping to actually repeat this information over and over and over. It is my duty to do that. It's my responsibility. If you like it, click like and leave a comment below. If you don't like it, do what you want to do. Leave a comment below. Let us have a conversation, and that is why I'm here, and I'm so grateful for the opportunity to do this on this platform. And from now on, sky is the limit for me, because even if I am not, if for some reason I wake up one morning and I find that YouTube are shut down, it doesn't exist anymore, I have already had the opportunity to talk about this, and nothing is going to stop me talking about it. Because even on the street, I will take a microphone and go and talk about this issue on the street, as long as the law allows me to do. And if the law doesn't allow me to do, then we will see what we will see. Maybe I still have a choice to break the law. A lot of people break the law, even the states. There's rumor now that government. I mean, every time Israel is fighting the Arabs, the Arabs are complaining, and other people are claiming that Israel is breaking the law. But it is up to you. Leave a comment below if you think Israel is breaking the law. If you think the Arabs are breaking the law. If you think Ukrainians are breaking the law. If you think Russia is breaking the law, leave a comment below. Because you see, somebody always breaks the law somewhere, either by form of accusation or actually by form of facts and evidence. Facts and evidence are produced by the legal system, not anything else. I mean, if the law, the law and the legal system says Israel is breaking the law, then you can actually say Israel is breaking the law, or the Arab. When I say Arab, I mean Hamas and people like that, because the relationship in the Middle East is extremely complicated. In Ukraine and Russia, why is Russia fighting Ukraine? And when these people claim one thing or another, you can talk about it, or you can just keep quiet, because until the law declares something, you just can talk about something, or you just shut up. And because it's the law, we operate the rule of law in our society. What the law says, if the law says Israel is breaking the law, if the law, talk about the court and the legal process. Once somebody takes Israel to court and there's a declaration, the judge of such a court make a declaration, that is actually official. Officiality is actually a legalized aspect of the information. If we don't do that, the other thing can be political. Political is, you say whatever you want to say, as long as you say it within the law. And sometimes people actually break the law in the process of politicking. When I need to speak about something which I believe people should hear, and people hearing with the hope that people will actually come to a realization that our culture is broken, and now it is our responsibility to look after ourselves culturally, respecting our lives, respecting the life of other people. Continue watching. Thank you. So continue watching. Let us look at the specifics of how the process of claiming universal credit sickness element, and you actually will have to look at how to fill out the form and you can also get extra form to fill. And if you're getting universal credit referred to here, it relates to if you're getting universal credit, standard allowance, or other elements, and that this is actually a pointer to whether or not you may need sickness element or universal credit. I already mentioned elsewhere that the idea of sickness benefit is actually a false economy, because if you produce a policy to affect what our income operate in the United Kingdom, I've already stated here that the primary objective of the British government should be to get the British people out of poverty. And if you produce a system of help from the government, which is extremely complex, too complex to even for people to access, to the result that people who are actually sick do not get the help the government is saying. It's almost like the government is playing fraud with the British people, because if the system is impossible to access, it's like somebody coming to you. You can work if you want, but you have a choice to work or not to work. What kind of choice is that? People who work for a living do not have choice. But we keep on hearing, oh, you don't have to work if you don't want to. That is a lie. You may not be in the legalistic way, it may be, but immorally it is wrong to tell an employee that, okay, you don't have to work if you don't want to work. I mean, people, if you don't work, you're going to die. I mean, where are you going to get the money? On some people say, oh, you don't have to claim benefit if you don't want it. That is total rubbish. Well, technically it is the case, because we talk about freedom. You have the freedom to choose what you want, but what kind of bogus freedom is that? I mean, somebody is standing with a gun on your head. There is something called I can't remember what it is, but somebody standing on your head with a gun. That you get in the car, or I will shoot you, but you have a choice. Get in this car. If you don't get in the car, we talk about abduction or whatever. We talk about these things. Somebody is standing with a gun on your head, pointed to your head. Get in the car, or I will shoot you dead. But you have a choice to get in the car or not, because we live in a free country. I mean, what kind of reasoning is that? It's like, if you don't have to claim benefit, because if you don't have money, you don't even have to eat food. You don't have to drink. You don't have to live in a house. You don't even have to go to an hospital. You have a choice. If you are sick, you can go to the hospital, or you can say, I mean to say, because you don't have money. You live in a country where all the money is concentrated in the hands of the few, taken away from the hands of the many. A lot of people, the majority of British people are poor. They don't even know about it. They don't know that if you don't work, you are going to die. You can't access medical support anymore, because you see, the health service is privatized. The dental service has been privatized. If you don't have money, somebody's going to tell you, okay, call us tomorrow. Or we no longer take patients from the National Health Service. Then what are you going to do? Because you are on benefit, you can't pay for your health care, or you're on low income. If you're working, you're on a minimum wage, you need help from the government. And the government is not giving you help because you are working full time, you're not on benefit. And you're on minimum wage, you're living in poverty. You can't even afford to feed yourself, to eat or even drink, to live in a house, to eat your home, and also to do anything. You can't afford transport. That is what the minimum wage, when you're working, does. Or the so-called living wage, the national living wage, that is to keep the British people in abject poverty. And the government is either not aware, or the government has turned into a beast. Something very dangerous, so dangerous that it doesn't even care about the British people anymore. It is acting like a foreign power who has occupied Britain to subject the majority of the population in perpetual slavery. And that is how I see it. If you see it differently, leave a comment below. Because, I mean, there is no reason other than either total ignorance or willful neglect by the state keeping the British people perpetually poor. There is no reason why anybody should be poor in Britain. Britain is the sixth richest country. I've said this 1,000, a million probably times. And I will be saying, and if you know somebody who can stop me from saying it, I'm eager to meet them tomorrow or next week and have a chat. I'll ask them openly, why are you stopping me from talking, from speaking? Because you said this is a free country. Or is it? I mean, the law itself is a source of tyranny. You can't understand it. You don't know. And if you have the best of lawyers, take employment law, for example, housing law. You need to have the best of lawyers, immigration law. You need the best of lawyers to buy justice, if there is any. And if you don't, you are a sitting duck. The British people are sitting ducks because the government has shut down legal aid. Why did he shut down legal aid? He shut down legal aid. He shut down legal aid because the public sector has shut down. How? How did the public sector shut down? The public sector shut down because it is not being funded. If you want to kill a human being, drain it of the blood. Drain the blood of such a human being. Drain the body of the blood. Suck the blood dry. Suck the body dry of the blood. And then such a person will die. Because blood is a source of life. Money is the source of life to an economy. The public economy is dying because the government has sucked it dry of money. If you so continue watching, and let us continue to look at the information we have, and also we can stop from time to time to reflect on the information we are actually looking at. And obviously, as we continue watching, thank you so much. If you are new, if you have been with me on this channel before, if you are new, continue subscribing to this YouTube channel. And if you have been here before, thank you so much for everything you have done, for being of great support. Work in progress. I'm so excited about the propositions, and let us look at the specifics of what money is given to the British people. Look, watch this video alongside the rest of the video. And I have said in the other videos that I will be posing from time to time to give an analysis of what I think, giving my opinion also, in addition to the information, the official information provided, because these are specific material to provide an occasion to discuss what is happening in the United Kingdom in terms of policy. And there is something called universal credit, which is actually a benefit. It is a benefit system in the United Kingdom, which is the universal credit. Universal credit is either standard, and you will usually need to fill in an extra form if you get universal credit, and you can't work and because you are disabled or have health condition. The form is called the Work Capability Questionnaire, or UC 50, Universal Credit 50. We have this talked about this information before. It's part of the process of how to claim universal credit. You can get this information online, Government UK or other aspects or other sorts of information. You may not be interested in this topic, but one thing you will be interested in is actually the government policy, British UK government policy, because the behavior of the British government and the politics and policy in one place is similar to its behavior elsewhere in terms of healthcare, in terms of even finance, generally business finance, the economic policy. So it is a great opportunity for you to engage with the state to understand what the government is doing, because I believe very strongly that the time is now for us to take control of our lives, to be empowered, especially if you're in Africa, but also if you're in the developed world. It's so easy to take a power relationship for granted in the developed world, because the propensity for us to believe that we are free, which we are comparable to the rest of the world, especially in Africa. You know, there are some form of oppression which are actually hidden, which are subtle, which are now beginning to show. The kind of violence of the state is now beginning to show with the advent of the cost of living crisis. I've been talking about this. A lot of people are very happy with what I'm saying. Some people are co-chairs. And if you comment below, let me know what you think about the cost of living crisis. A lot of people think probably it is meaningless because people are busy with work, people are busy with other things. Maybe if you have a bit of money, you go on holiday to spend, and when you are finished spending, then you come back home to consider the debts. Maybe you are in rent arrears, in council tax arrears. Maybe your credit card is over the roof. You've been borrowing credit to buy a car or furniture, or actually your holiday is also done on credit card, and you come now bombarded with debt. That's when you begin to realize you're probably in a very serious financial situation, and this is something being done by the government. Credit is created by the government. The government is responsible for you being in debt. Government should change the policy to get the British people out of debt by increasing the level of employment. Employment is a very necessary evil, because you see, you working for somebody else, the wealth goes to your employer. And if your employer is a multimillionaire or a multi-billionaire, it's even a more serious relationship because they have absolute power. You work for companies like that. You know, the power trickles down to employees, but there are employees who can be treated very viciously by the ever, overmighty employer, who are actually multimillionaires and multi-billionaires. These people are actually, what do you call them? they are like a rocket. I don't know how to describe them. I just word failed me to describe powerful people. Some people are so powerful. They access the law. The law has come to be a weapon of oppression, because only the rich can access the law and justice. So there is no justice for people who are poor, who are the majority. If you work for a living, the most like other people don't want to be referred to as being poor. That is their problem. Because you see, unless you come to terms with the real world, you can continue to live in the world of fantasy. If you are a multimillionaire and a multi-billionaire, then you are rich. Otherwise, you are not. You are probably not exactly poor in the abject context of poverty, in that you may still have some savings. Maybe you have 10,000, 5,000, 50,000. But my take is that you may be earning 300,000 pounds per annum. A lot of people actually earn 20,000 pounds in the UK, the average earning in the United Kingdom. If they work the average correctly, but the average cannot be worked properly because of the disparity between the higher earning and the lower earning. People who earn well are actually very few. If you ask around carefully, I don't know the statistic, but it's not difficult to look for such a statistic with time and resources. The people who get maybe 100,000 pounds are probably very few, maybe about 20%, or even less, probably 5%, or even 10%, and even less are actually multi-millionaires. They get maybe 1 million, 3 million, 5 million per annum. These are probably between 10, 5, or even 2%. Even if you are actually an investor, entrepreneur, probably you earn in your income is measured in billions, and these are actually even fewer. At the lower, at the middle, see the trap under capitalism is actually the middle class. Because the middle class are ranging from something like 30,000 to maybe 50,000, 100,000. They feel good generally. But if you are, as I speak now with the cost of living crisis, if you're earning £30,000 take home, I mean, that's net earning. That's a net earning of 30,000. You may only just feel, okay, but you will probably be in debt. Literally being in debt. You can be in debt to the tune of 20,000, 50,000, or even 100,000. If you are buying a property on mortgage, you are probably in debt to the tune of hundreds of thousands of pounds because you need that house to live in. If you have to be in debt to buy a property on a mortgage, people don't realize they don't realize they're seriously in debt. If you lose your job today, tomorrow you will lose your home. You'll be on the street. And if you go to the local authority, they're not going to help you because you may not be described as being someone in need. You have to go private, and if they think you might not be able to pay their rent, they're not going to give you a property. You may have to go and squat somewhere, maybe go to friends and family. Friends and family will only house you for the honeymoon period for a few weeks. And if they know you're in trouble, most friends will leave you. Most families will actually abandon you because we are societies of individuals. The past relations, I don't know how they related at that time. The way humans should actually relate to one another should be our family actually live with one another. If your family member is suffering, you stop and help them. Sometimes wild animals even behave more cooperatively than humans. I'm not really, because now somebody can just kill you on the street. People will stand there and not know what to do. In a typical humanitarian society, somebody trying to kill somebody else, 2 or 4 people are going to go there and wrestle whatever weapon their assailant has to prevent the death or serious injury. But we have been divided by the state, who is determined to rule in the in the policy of divide and rule. And that is a truth, perhaps also a fact, because sometimes there are factual distortions which actually do not point to the truth. The truth of today's world is almost an illusion, because we talk of the facts. If you don't have the facts, shut up. Regardless of what truth you may have, the truth is meaningless. The truth is nothing without the facts. But you see, there are people who control the facts. Their facts may be informationally accurate, but they don't point to the truth. What we need as communities, as families, as individuals is the truth. You see, the truth is not even in the court, because the court of law depends on the law. How the law defines truth is not really our normal human being. The law is a blunt instrument. It's not a human being. I mean, even the human beings sometimes struggle with the truth, but at least they know the truth. If they're feeling pain in their head, you go to the judge and tell them, I have pain. That's why I wasn't able to go to work. My employer shouldn't have. But that may be truthful, but it's factually irrelevant. Because you see, if you are an employee, you're sick, you have to comply with employment law and principles and practices, policy from your work, the contract, whether written or not. If your employer fires you, you go to court, you say, I was sick. Okay, where are the facts? The facts should be legal. You see, because there are laws governing somebody, an employee who is sick. And whether you are sick, your employer can still fire you. Your employer might say, okay, you are sick, but I am still firing you. Why do you fire me? Why do you fire me? Somebody who is sick cannot work. The employer is not responsible for your sickness. The state is not also responsible for your sickness, because the state used to be responsible by providing sickness benefit. Because you are sick, you can't work. So the government, on the basis of sickness, you are paid. Because now your employer has really asked you to leave because they have followed the law and they have paid you statutory sick pay. And the period of statutory sick pay is limited. Maybe it's not, you can't be sick forever and expect your employer to pay you forever. When you get statutory sick pay, if it is within your contract statutorily or otherwise, statutory sick pay is actually have to be statutorily applied, because this is based on the statutory aspect of the employment contract. So once that happens, your employer is going to ask you to leave, because he has fulfilled his legal obligation. Those are the facts, and that is also the truth according to the law. But the truth, your truth, is not the same with the truth of the law, because you need work, you need livelihood. You have to take your truth with you, and it's not bothering the employer. Don't take employer to court because of your truth. Your truth is not important. The truth of the law, if the law sees the truth, is what is you should pay attention to it based on the facts, the legal facts of your situation. You are sick. You go to the government, and the government has promised in terms of policy that there is sickness benefit, but you go there and apply for sickness benefit. You don't get it. Even if you are sick to the point of death, you don't get benefit, because the government still want the doctor to tell them that you are terminally ill and you are going to live for less than a year. And then the government will tell her, okay, the doctor said you are going to die, so we're going to give you benefit now. Otherwise, they don't. They literally don't give you benefit, because if they know, the government tells you this individual is very sick, they can't work. The Department of Work will not accept what the doctor says, because the government told them not to listen to the doctor. And that is what I'm trying to share here. I can't help but stop to explain to people the significance of what I'm trying to say. I can't just be talking about the government policy without actually examining it. Especially if I'm actually vlogging the way I'm doing. If I'm a YouTuber, I will be acting, because this thing doesn't make sense to most people. So in terms of communication, in terms of trying to produce logic to what I'm trying to do, I'm just trying to say, yes, there is help from the government, but it's so difficult to get it that people don't actually get it anymore. So my invitation to the government, which is actually the primary purpose of this exercise, is for the government to change the law, so that if people don't work because they are sick, there should be sickness benefit for people who cannot work because of sickness. This should be given to the people. Actually, there shouldn't be, the sickness benefit should be shut down. It's best if it is shut down. Whether it is shut down or kept open, it's the same, because we can have sickness benefit. This is okay. But you see, the problem with benefit is the level of benefit is low. It keeps the British people in poverty. And that should change today, because Britain is a rich country, and the government has no excuse for keeping the British people poor, especially people who are borrowing money, who work for a living. Even people who sometimes earn £50,000 per annum are extremely poor, because they are deeply in debt. And they're not going to get out of debt. They are probably now asked to leave their home because they didn't pay their rent. They're probably losing their home because they didn't pay their mortgage. And their mortgage is actually a credit. The money they are borrowed to buy their home, which they need to live in. They are not trying to buy a house to show off to friends and family that they have a house. They need those places. Those are their homes. And because the government and the state has failed to provide housing. That is the problem. Continue watching. Thank you so much. Let us continue watching. Somehow, the recording process stopped, probably for one reason or another. And I was in the process of saying, instead, I missed one or two things. We are actually been talking about income, which is the essence of this topic. Income actually determine whether or not you're poor. We've been talking about poverty, income from the government, from the private companies. If you work for a living, if you are an investor, if you work for a living, self-employed, medium, small and medium businesses, whatever you do, we talk about income. We talk about income and poverty. And it is the responsibility of private companies to run the economy, because of privatization. Small and medium business and big corporations are the ones who now mainly provide work. You have work, and if it is paid well, you begin the process of getting out of poverty. That's what I've been talking about. That's what I will be talking about under this topic. I maybe talk about financial help from the government, but there are financial help from private companies, from employment. These actually are to do with income. And there are also potentials that could be also support for mortgages. For mortgages are what you get when you want to, the credit you get when you want to buy a property. You buy property through financial support. How it works, leave a comment below. And all you can say is that it's the credit system which you borrow money if you are actually eligible. The banks, the mortgaging company will deal with that. And if you are given the mortgage, then you are in credit, you pay for your home or for something else. And leave a comment below if you know what other things you can pay mortgage for when you are buying a house, either for rental, buy to let, or whatever. Because one way or the other, you will have to borrow money unless you are a multimillionaire or a multimillionaire to buy a property. Even multimillionaires or multimillionaires by choice can borrow money to buy, either to lend to people who need. The earn interest when they borrow so much at a certain interest, and then they borrow at a higher interest. These are some of the businesses multimillionaires and multimillionaires actually operate. These are something you can actually do a research. You can do research if you're a child, if you are an adult, if you are a pensioner. It is your responsibility. This is your country. Know what is happening. We are in the information age. If you don't know what is happening, good. If you don't know what is happening, good. If you know what is happening, it's good. If you do research, it's good. If you don't, it's good. It's free country. I say, if you have information, then you are more effective as a person, because things are changing very quickly. Public sector is closing down rapidly. That's why there is no funding. The only way to shut down the public sector is to stop funding it. And that's exactly what the government is doing in the UK and across the globe. The closure of the public sector cannot happen unless public funding stops. And that is what's happening. When you go to the hospital, you have to wait forever, and getting worse, because it is a political agenda to shut the public sector down. And I have been saying this, the information is everywhere. It is actually on the government website. It is, if you follow British politics, if you go to BBC Parliament, there are debates. The government wanting small government. The government wanting small government. They have excuses. What sorts of excuses? Because they don't want to tell British people probably the truth, for one reason or another. But you see, there comes a time when the truth needs to be told, because our lives is on the line. I mean, if you don't know the truth, that's your problem. And you value your life, that's your problem. If you don't value your life, that is your problem, or your benefit, depending on how you look at it. Immigrants, now because of election, the government is talking about in America, in Europe, in America and in the UK, we are due for election. So now, especially the conservative parties are focusing on issues with migration, because migration is associated with racism. Racism is everywhere. politicians actually use the race card to divide the country and rule over the country, which is a form of evil. The British people have a choice. Listen to what the government says about the boat people. I mean, deporting the British people to Rwanda is not a solution to the British problem. You should have smelled a rat when the government claiming to get the British people out of Europe, Brexit. And the British people thought once Brexit is accomplished, there is going to be money for the NHS, for education, for housing. The government did not do that. Now the government is talking about COVID-19. The government is talking about the war in Ukraine. The government is going to be talking about everything except building houses for the British people, except building hospitals, recruiting doctors, paying people well. Medical doctors were on strike because of low pay. It's not because of trade union. Trade union is already dead. Tony Blair, Prime Minister Tony Blair, destroyed the trade union when the Labour Party, New Labour, they actually amended the Labour Party's constitution. There is something called Clause 4 of the trade union law with the Labour Party. So when the Labour Party destroyed, it was actually Tony Blair and New Labour which destroyed the trade union. Trade union is already dead. What is left is actually a residue, is symbolic, is consistent with capitalism, is consistent with an extreme view, which is actually a global phenomenon. It's a right-wing movement across the globe, which is set to concentrate wealth in the hands of the few and to the exclusion of the majority of the world population. It's a mistake. It's actually a form of insanity. It is going to kill the global. It's going to wipe humanity out of the world. I mean, humanity are going to be wiped off the face of the earth because of the economic violence, because of the social injustice and violence. That is what is going to happen. And the poor will die first, but the rich will die last. So we are facing the extinction of a species because of our behavior, because of our cultural failure. We do not know peace. Read the history books. How much wars have we fought at sea, in the air, on land, underground? Today, there are actually activities underground. We do not know what it is. There are activities underground. We don't know what it is. Do a research. You take responsibility for yourself. There is hope. If there was no hope, I wasn't going to talk, because I speak because there's hope. We have the power to change the course of history. We have the power to change today, to go from violence to peace, fighting wars to peace. That is what we can do. We decide to fight, we can decide to stop the war. Economic war, technological war, medical, educational. There is something called deschooling. Schools are being shut down. Because if people are ignorant, you can rule over them. The law, which I now look at, is so complex that nobody can claim benefit without advice, professional advice. That is not necessary, because benefit is a source of income to the British people. With the rise of the machine, technology is taking jobs away. We are going to have less, not more work. And then if the government is shutting down the public sector, who is going to help? No one. So, with the rise of the machine, you're losing your job. You don't have money. You should figure out how you're going to survive. And this is the message. It's what I'm talking about. If you comment below, subscribe to my channel if you haven't subscribed. And if you comment below, click notification bell, click like.
Wana wa wa miela ni. Yen pebere yo no mani wa tuna yum. Wanga miela. Kera nyumo sina no tuna yum. Wanga nyono miel. Morena, uru winning. Lo morena, uru tining. Lo morena. Lupanga wani yo tiana doye. Kurba doye. Morena, uru winning.